"I'm sorry, I can't afford this date." She whispered to the single dad. What he did next changed. The moment she whispered, "I'm sorry, I can't afford this date," something inside him broke and healed. At the exact same time, Ethan hadn't been on a real date in 3 years, not since the night his wife died and left him standing alone in a hospital hallway, holding a jacket that still smelled like her perfume. Since then, life had shrunk into school drop-offs, late shifts, microwave dinners, and bedtime stories read with a tired voice but a steady heart. His world revolved around one small boy who called him Dad and believed he could fix anything. So when he finally worked up the courage to download a dating app, he wasn't looking for fireworks. He was just looking for a reason to remember what it felt like to be human again. That's how he met Lily. She wasn't flashy. No filters, no dramatic poses. Just a simple smile and eyes that looked like they'd seen both joy and disappointment and decided to keep going anyway. Their messages were easy, gentle, honest. She laughed at his awkward jokes and didn't mind when he mentioned his son in almost every conversation. When they decided to meet, Ethan chose a modest restaurant. Nothing fancy, nothing intimidating, or so he thought. They'd been sitting there for 15 minutes, talking about childhood memories and favorite comfort foods, when the server placed the menus on the table. Lily glanced at the prices. Her smile faded just a little. She tried to hide it, but Ethan noticed. Single dads learn to notice small things. Survival teaches you that. She excused herself to the restroom. When she came back, her eyes were glassy, her voice quieter. "I'm really sorry," she whispered, leaning forward so no one else could hear. "I didn't realize this place would be so expensive. I don't think I can afford this date." The words hit Ethan harder than he expected, not because of the money, but because of the shame in her voice. In that moment, he didn't see a woman backing out of a date. He saw himself 3 years ago, counting change at a grocery store, pretending not to notice the cashier's pity. He saw every parent who skipped meals so their child wouldn't have to. He saw dignity trying not to crack under the weight of embarrassment. And the story reminds us that kindness still matters. Ethan smiled, not the polite kind, the real one. "Hey," he said gently. "That's okay." She shook her head, mortified. "I should have said something earlier. I just didn't want to look human," he finished softly, "because you do, and that's not a bad thing." She blinked, surprised. "I invited you," he continued. "This one's on me. No expectations, no pressure." Her shoulders relaxed just a bit. "Are you sure?" "Yeah," he said, "I've got it." Dinner continued, but something had shifted. The walls came down. Lily talked about growing up with a mom who worked 2 jobs, about learning early how to stretch a dollar and never ask for help, about how dating always felt like an audition she couldn't afford to fail. Ethan listened, really listened. When the check came, he paid without a second thought. But instead of ending the night there, he asked, "Want to take a walk?" They strolled past quiet storefronts, the city humming softly around them. At a corner cafe, Lily stopped and stared through the window at a small cake display. "My mom and I used to come here on birthdays," she said. "Haven't been in years." Ethan didn't say anything. He just went inside, came back with 2 forks and a slice of chocolate cake, and handed it to her. She laughed. Then she cried. And right there on a cold sidewalk, 2 strangers shared dessert like old friends. That's when Lily said something that changed everything. "There's something I should tell you," she said, wiping her eyes. "I'm not just broke right now. I'm rebuilding. I left a really bad situation. I'm staying with my sister, working 2 part-time jobs, trying to get back on my feet. I understand if that's too much." Ethan thought of his son, of the nights he wondered if love would ever find space in his carefully balanced life, of how scared he'd been to open the door to someone new. Then he said, "I'm not scared of rebuilding. I live there." A week later, Lily came over for dinner. Nothing fancy, just spaghetti and a movie on the couch. Ethan's son, Noah, was shy at first, peeking from behind a pillow. Lily didn't force anything. She just sat on the floor and let him show her his toy cars. At bedtime, Noah tugged Ethan's sleeve and whispered, "She's nice." That night, after Lily left, Ethan found something on the kitchen table, an envelope. Inside was a handwritten note and a folded $20 bill. The note read, "I know you didn't do it for this, but I need you to know I don't take kindness lightly. Thank you for seeing me." Ethan sat down and laughed softly. Then he cried. The next time they went out, Lily insisted on choosing the place. It was a tiny diner with chipped mugs and the best pancakes Ethan had ever tasted. She paid. Months passed. One evening, Lily showed up at Ethan's door, shaking with Excitement, she'd gotten a full-time job. Benefits, stability. I couldn't have done it without you, she said. Ethan shook his head. You did it. I just held the light. Years later, Ethan would tell this story at their wedding reception, about the whisper, about the date she couldn't afford, about the moment he chose compassion over pride, and he'd end with this: sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't grand or dramatic. Sometimes it's simply saying, I've got this, when someone feels small, because kindness doesn't just change a night. It changes lives, and love, real love, often begins with understanding, not perfection.